Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brooks. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brooks, and I can't believe we're actually here at our premiere episode. First of all, thank you to everyone who has so far encouraged me on this journey, subscribed, shared, liked, and given your approval too. I'm really grateful. I'm really thankful, and I'm glad to be here with you, our community. I am political science by training. My first degree is in political science. And apart from that, I've always been interested in politics for various reasons, of course. I try to step away from it, do other things, but it keeps calling me back. And so here I am with my first YouTube channel and podcast, Politics Aside, because over the years I've discovered that so many times we get lost in the politics. We get lost in the partisanship, and it is not very good for policy. I'm also a certified policy officer, and so policy is really almost always at the forefront of my mind, of my brain. When I hear something or see something, I think policy drafting, policy implementation. Like, how do we get to the meat of the matter? How do we get what we want to get to trickle down to developmental effect? Over the last months in 2024, we've seen so much happening in the Caribbean. I mean, in the world. We just saw a few nights ago the U.S. federal election debate between Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump. And here in the Caribbean, we also have our own thing going on. But specifically for me, for 2024, I've seen a lot of controversy, in particular regarding bread and butter for the OECS Caribbean countries, especially, and by bread and butter, of course, I mean or CBI program. So there you have it. Our first topic for Politics Aside is going to be about the citizenship by investment programs of the OECS 5, that's in Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, and St. Lucia. And so there you saw just pop-ups of various news articles, all which have been written in the past 3 months or so. Just a few weeks ago, we had the U.S. Treasury and the ECCB, which is our central bank, meeting again with the OECS 5 to discuss the 6 principles that they want the citizenship by investment programs to be run by. And so over the past months, I mean, even years, we've seen how our CBI program really have been colored with so much politics, false information, misinformation, championed by agents who really have no interest in our countries, and there have been facilitators as well on the ground, because I guess how it has been viewed as basically government versus opposition, So our CBI programs really have been a tool. I would say they have been a political tool. And I started with this topic because, in my opinion, it's really time to get back. Let's get back to why we started our CBI programs, because our why is very much still relevant and even more relevant now than before. And I'll show you something, which is a clip by the Right Honorable Dr. Kennedy Simmons, which in the Citizenship by Investment program industry in the Caribbean started under his leadership. He was the first Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and it was his administration which introduced this, legislated this as a pathway for our economic growth. So let's get that clip running. What was the thought behind the establishment of the Citizenship by Investment program? Where did the inspiration come from? And was the program ever operationalized under your watch? Thank you.
Oh, the CBI. Yeah, I could answer that short too. It was, here we were with sugar, and there was no question. Sugar was on its way out, right? It was going. We were talking about, well, industry going to have to close and so on and so forth. And sugar was gone. It was going. It was dying. Sugar was dying, even in our time. And you know how we could keep sugar going all that time, Phil? Because we were developing the rest of the country. That was the start. So we were subsidizing sugar from the day we got in there. All right. So we had to come up with something different, some source of revenue. Right away, the removal of personal income tax kind of eased the situation, because it made people get a little more money without us having to actually dip in our pockets to produce it. Right? And that gave you a little leeway, break to relax, and not relax, but to work out other ways and means and work out other things. And we had to come up with something. There were two other people who were very instrumental in that. But one was Dr. William Valentine Herbert, Billy. And it was his suggestion. I don't take any claim for it. I ain't had a kind of brain to work out that. Right? And but when it came down to seeing how it would work and work it out, and there was another person who was crucial. You all used to know the gentleman. He worked for my administration. He worked for Dr. Douglas. He helped us to get our mission in New York, and in a building which was owned by the Kuwaitis, the gentleman from Kuwait who was around here. You know, one of the things that he did, he had somebody from his organization do a study and produce a document showing what similar things were being done all over the world. For example, the US had a thing that if you could get a green card by investment. Right? If you invest up to a certain amount of money, that you can get a green card on that basis, and it's still there, but you just see the ad now with some serious millions, right? Although they would try to criticize us. You see the US ad right there on the TV, right now, right? Well, so this gentleman got his staff, he paid for it, one of his staff, to actually research and produce a document. This part of the world, this is what they're doing. Not our CBI, but along that line. Right? And from there, as I said, by the really initiative of Dr. Herbert, we decided we were going to pursue it and try our best. Initially, it was related to the building of condominiums. You're setting up a condominium there. You're going to sell the condominium. The person pay a fee, and they have to actually buy a condominium in the country and pay government a fee. That was how it was set up to begin with, the structure. But where it has been expanded now, the first move away from condominiums was for the establishment of the Hyatt Hotel. I mean, you don't remember it, you know. The president or vice president, it was, of the Hyatt came to St. Kitts. The man went on radio and television, and he spoke and he said that the Hyatt was ready to start because all the hurdles had been cleared away. And what was the main hurdle was how does somebody own? They had to work out the share system, not just, it was with real estate. You have a condominium, you can come in. But they had to work it out in such a way that you could build a whole hotel where you can claim that this piece of the hotel belonged to you. I don't know what the legal ramification, but that had to be worked out before we could move on to now. So that was it. We were looking for something to bring funds in for revenue, right? Which
Okay, so there we had it. From the horse's mouth, so to speak, from the Right Excellent and Right Honorable Sir Kennedy Simmons. We wanted to get those titles out of the way. And then we're going to give you another clip by the Right Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, who was the second Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and now this Senior Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs et al., and he now has a Ministry of Investment Promotions, something like that. Don't quote me, but yes.
Pertaining to the CBI. The CBI, of course, has been the driver for our tourism development over the years. We took a deliberate decision back in 2004 to close the sugar industry and to replace it with a services economy led in particular by hotel, information, technology, international finances, etc. We have done well with the CBI to achieve this. It has brought in the Park Hyatt, it brought in the Marriott, and I'm sure there are several other developments on Nevis, villa types of developments, which also are as a result of the CBI. At the moment, however, the CBI is under review. You would know that recently we have restructured it so that it is no longer under the direct ministerial control as of the minister, but it is now more of a statutory corporation. Still, of course, we'll have some minister in charge of it. But this is to ensure that although over the last maybe few months, maybe a year, we have seen a dip in the proceeds, which is reflected, of course, in our revenue from the CBI, we are certain that the CBI will rise again.
And so I found that it was important to get these two clips across and out to the audience because one, here we had Dr. Simmons, who initiated this industry for St. Kitts and Nevis and in the Caribbean abroad, because we are going to see that St. Kitts and Nevis was the first Caribbean country to have this in 1984 and then followed by other Caribbean countries. But I want us to catch the point because Dr. Simmons And Dr. Douglas also reiterated some of what Dr. Simmons said, that sugar was dying, of course. Sugar was dying. And as Dr. Douglas said, the sugar industry came to an end in St. Kitts and Nevis in 2004. So sugar was dying, and we needed a source of revenue. So that's the first one. We needed a source of revenue. Research was done, so it's not like these guys met and just pulled something out of the sky. Research was done, and they looked at what was happening around the world and realized that the United States and Canada had this investment type program, which they still have today. The United States have the US EB5 program and also the EB3 program, which are all investor type program, ranging from different amounts of investments with different requirements, but it is similar to our citizenship by investment. Canada has a similar program, and also the European countries have similar programs, not direct citizenship programs, but residency programs. For example, Greece, Portugal, Spain, whereby you invest, let's say, 500,000 euros, and you are able to attain residency through a particular process. And so the Caribbean, as much as they make it seem as if we're the only ones doing this, we're not. We just happen to be the ones who want to politicize our programs. For what? I mean, what is the real benefit, of destroying our bread and butter? Because that's what it is right now. And yes, we talk about diversification and we need to diversify the economy. And I am sure we are trying to do that. The administrators are trying to do that. The governments are trying to do that. But let's not forget how we got here in the first place. CBI came about because we were trying to diversify from sugar. And so I guess it's just the way of the world, the way of how things work. You're always going to have that one industry which dominates, right? But I think that so many people, so many of us don't understand where CBI came from, what motivated. And by the way, just to note, not sure if you noticed, I was the one who asked Dr. Simmons that question. That was last year at his forum, The Road to Independence, in honor of our 40th independence anniversary. So, I mean, it's just so happened that it works out really well. Sorry to go off of that. But as I was saying, we got here in the first place because we were trying to diversify from sugar, which was very important. But as of recent, we have been seeing so much controversy about the CBI, wanting to pin it as this whole illegal thing, and linking it with criminals and money laundering. And I am not saying that there aren't people out there with ill intentions, who might see certain programs as an avenue for various activities, right? And that is why we have the due diligence processes. And that is why the US Treasury and the ECCB are working to have our programs across the OECS standardized. So we want everybody to have the same rigorous DD process, the same strict application requirements. And we are very young. The programs, too, are very young. And so nothing is going to be perfect. So I'm good with wanting to improve, but wanting to tear down our own, and we have not been very kind to ourselves. Wanting to do that is like going on a different path. And so I think it's important for us to really understand what CBI has done for us and what CBI continue to do for us, and why we need to protect this program, our programs, as if they are the drivers of our economies, because they are. As you heard it from Dr. Douglas, it was through the CBI which we were able to diversify into the service sector, and it was the CBI acting as a driver for tourism. So many times we think that tourism stands on its own. It doesn't. And apparently it has never stood on its own. And so I myself am even grateful that we have, these clips. We have the Dr. Simmons explaining how CBI come about, why it was important for us to initiate this. And then we have Dr. Douglas reinforcing what CBI has done for us. And he also commented on where we are now. We are under review currently, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but I think every OECS CBI operating country, that program is under review again, because we have come under so much heat over the past 9 months or even more. With the EU, the UK, we saw that Dominica had some revocations of its passport, for various reasons. And sometimes we hear numbers and we are alarmed, and I think it's so important, again, for us to look at the percentage and also to look at other countries in the EU, because it's so easy to highlight us and pinpoint us and say, oh, we're not doing it the right way. We're doing this wrong. But how much of it are we doing wrong? And what are you doing? Like, what's the comparative analysis there? And so I wanted to start with this topic because I operate within the CBI industry. I've worked for the government and I've worked for private, and I have done the certification in the investment migration industry, and I do communicate with my colleagues, which are known as practitioners in the industry. And so there have been so much conversation around it, and I felt like having a view at different angles, private, public, academic, I just wanted more people to understand what the CBI has done for us and why it's important that we protect this. And again, as much I know, I can already hear and see some of the comments saying, oh, we need to diversify, we need to diversify. And we are diversifying, right? But we still have to, we can't just throw away the baby with the bathwater, as they would say. While we work on diversifying into other industries and probably other service sectors, we still need to use what we have, because it is very likely that the revenue coming in from CBI, that's what's going to help us to diversify into, I guess, agro processing and all of these good sounding things. But then again, we also have to look at practicality. In my opinion, CBI is a great asset to us, to St. Kitts and Nevis, to our fellow OECS brothers and sisters. And as we saw in 2020, when COVID hit. And we saw what the IMF said, that because of the revenues from the CBI, St. Kitts and Nevis was able to basically withstand the trials brought about by COVID, that the CBI and the revenues gained from the CBI industry really acted as a buffer, and due to that, we were able to implement a number of social policies to help those who were relatively disadvantaged from COVID. We're going to take a short break and be right back. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brooks.
Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brooks.
Welcome back. I think that was a mouthful, but I really do hope we are off already to a better start of repositioning, refocusing, and putting the politics aside. We are, in my opinion, in very serious times. Across the region and around the world, we are seeing the increase in inequalities. We're seeing a surge in crime and violence. And we're seeing an expansion in the poverty lines, and I think it's time we begin to ask ourselves, politics or policy for people? And as Marcus Garvey once said, a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. And so I would like to advise all of us, including the bloggers who have a grand time parading propaganda, blowing up allegations and misinformation. On this particular topic, be very careful of what you put out. Honestly, we are in that era, we are in that space, we are in that dispensation where you post something on your Facebook page, it's not going to stay there, right? You do a live just throwing out numbers that you don't even know, exists. It's not going to stay there. We are no longer a local community only. As you can see, globalization has really brought the entire world, or most of it, closer. And so everybody is watching. EU policy makers are watching. UK immigration authorities and officers are watching. So when you raise an eyebrow in St. Kitts, in St. Lucia, in Dominica, in Antigua, Barbuda, Grenada, even Jamaica, you're raising times several other eyebrows in jurisdictions beyond us. And so, as I said, this is about getting into the meat of the matter. Let's protect our CBI. It's important. I know different leaders also have different perspectives, but if we can make it work for us, if we can have very stringent due diligence systems. If we can coordinate, and which we do with Interpol and other policing agencies, to really filter through our applicants. If we can see the bigger picture, beyond partisan, beyond which government is in, if we can see beyond that, and go beyond that and operate beyond that, and really use our CBI programs as tools for our human development, economic growth, and advancement. As Dr. Douglas said, we will begin to see our programs rise again, but not just our programs. We'll begin to see the fruits of our programs rising. We'll begin to see infrastructural development. And we'll begin to see our people advancing. And so we are diversifying. But again, let's not throw away the baby with the bathwater. So that's it for me. Let's protect what's ours. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear your feedback. You can post your comments, respectful comments only. You can send us an email. You can also find us on Instagram at politicsaside_SKN. And also let us know what other topics you like to discuss or learn more about, because I find that for this particular topic, always such a big topic, but always so little information given to the citizens themselves, that we don't really understand exactly what is the CBI. And so it is a legitimate investor program run by 5 OECS countries. That's St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, and Grenada. Legitimate. Varying requirements, and so that's why we're trying to streamline those requirements, streamline the due diligence processes, and so everybody is on the same page, more or less. And I didn't mean to make this a CBI podcast, but I really wanted to do my part in clearing the air, regarding the CBI saga that has been happening in the OECS territories. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Insightful, engaging, dynamic, authentic, empowering, informative, transformative, controversial, unbiased, impactful. This is Politics Aside with Roleece Brooks.